That sounds good though.
And I throw it in the crock pot.
Yes. That's what my husband likes, just simple, plain meat and cheese. He's easy.
That's good.
I don't know, for me it is. I'm not that good with this.
Okay, everybody, I want to thank you all for coming to our SHAC meeting. Feel free to get up, get some food, something to drink, and munch. I'm sorry I wasn't here at the last meeting, but thank you, Mr. Bradshaw, for...
I didn't do near as good of a job as you did.
This is not the office. Okay. All right, so everybody, we have a quorum here, and I know that there is weather coming, so we may make this kind of short and sweet because I'm worried about the storms coming for everybody. So everybody has an agenda in front of them. So I will start off the nurse update. I just got a text from Kara. She is on her way, so she'll be able to fill in as she runs in the door for the elementary side. But for us, we had flu shot clinics for students and staff. The end of October for staff, and then again the very beginning of November for students, and we had a few staff members have their flu shots then as well. Not a big turnout, but we did have some get their flu shots that day. Kara and I did the spinal screening a couple of weeks ago. We have to screen 5th and 7th grade girls and 8th grade boys, and then we rescreened as soon as we got back from Thanksgiving, and we have already sent those referrals out. We did that a few weeks ago. And I will let Kara talk about hand washing because she has had a very fun time teaching hand washing to the elementary students. One big thing that I wanted to tell y'all about that I was kind of nervous. I didn't know how it was going to go over, but I think it went over very well. I'm
sorry, can't hear you. I think it's over it.
Is last week we had Texas Mobile Imaging come for our staff and family members of our staff, and they did images of carotids, thyroid, abdominal aorta, kidneys, liver, Doppler studies on the legs. They did all sorts of things, and we ended up having 51 people participate out of our staff and their family members. So it was very exciting. I wasn't for sure how the turnout would be because there was a little bit of a cost for it. Y'all come on in and get you something to eat. There was a cost for it, but we had a very good turnout, and I was very excited about that. Another thing that I will tell y'all about, it's been absent for a couple of years due to COVID, but we are bringing Biggest Loser back for our staff. So Kara and I have been talking about that. It's always fun to do Biggest Loser. Here's a past winner right here.
Time to plump up.
So everybody has been bulking up, getting ready because we're starting Biggest Loser in January. So the way we do it is we have weekly weigh-ins for staff members. And so we compete individually, but we also compete elementary versus secondary as well. But this year we're going to add a few more prizes. So instead of just having the first place winner, we are going to have first, second, and third at each campus. And then we'll do an overall, we'll get a little something. So whenever y'all see the teachers, if they're, ask them if they're part of Biggest Loser, hold them accountable, unless it's elementary, and then give them donuts. And then Kara will tell us about elementary.
So an update for the elementary side, all health screens have been completed, spinal, vision, and hearing. And most of the referrals have actually already been turned in for those, but a lot of those will be taken care of over the break. Some things that we're seeing on the elementary side, we haven't seen a little bit of flu, a little bit of COVID, but a lot of our stuff is strep, sinus infections, and the stomach bug. But our babies have just recently done their proper hand washing. We're trying to minimize the germs, and our staff and custodians, they're also doing a really good job at cleaning up their areas, their rooms. So hopefully we'll minimize these germs as best as we can. That's about
How did the kids enjoy hand washing?
I don't think the kids enjoyed the hand washing as much as I enjoyed watching the kids do the hand washing. It was pretty funny.
She did the fluorescent lights, so they got to see how they.
Yes, and I actually got like, I don't know how I got some on my face, but I was like, see, my hands clean now, and they're like,
That's cool.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Kara or I about some of the student health stuff? Okay, next on our list is Miss Harold to give us a counselor update.
Okay, so I'm gonna start off, right at the time we had our last meeting, we were getting close to drug-free week. And, so we completed drug-free week with our middle school, high school drug-free rally, where we had our organization set up. Chief Rochelle, actually, he enjoys public speaking, so he kicked it off. That's a joke, he doesn't. He doesn't like it at all, but thankfully, he did agree to kick it off, talking to our students about the dangers of drugs. And I asked Janie and Jaden are both in student councils. I asked her to kind of talk about some of drug-free rally and kind of that week and stuff, because really student council does it, and it's kind of posted through us. So if y'all want to kind of tell some of the things we did throughout the week and the drug-free rally.
Well, we had dress-up days we had dress-up days, and then we had, no, we didn't.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did. And then every day we gave away like we gave away a ribbon. I think we gave away good pencils. And then 2 days we did candy, but they all had a saying like, be a smarty, don't do drugs. And then
Tell them about the drug-free rally, kind of what we do at that event.
At the rally, we have different organizations set up a table for all of their stuff, and the kids walk around and do their activities they have at the table. And it's always really fun. And they eat, we give them all hot dogs, so they love that.
Lots of food, lots of eating. That usually goes with our side, but just a way to kind of, capitalize the week, and this is what we're doing it for. You can have fun while you're not doing drugs, and that's kind of what we do. And so, and then on November the 7th, we had 2 parent meetings that night. We had Mindfulness and Parenting by Jake Perkins from the Pediatric Family Counseling of Texarkana. And then we had, of course, our Dangers of Social Media, Officer Sean Vaughn. We had a couple of our parents. I know Kim was there, Madison was there, and appreciate you guys coming. We had a few parent participation, and so that was good. And we always try to, we talked about it at our last meeting, trying to get that to where we have more. But both of those were very, I thought, and I don't want to speak for everybody, but I thought very good meetings, very good information, and so we did that. And I know Missy at the end of our last meeting, she was talking about like for vaping programs and stuff. It's something I told Missy, and I should have said at the end, we kind of talked about it a little bit, but we do have a new program that we're using through University of Texas at Tyler this year. It's called TCHAT. It stands for Texas Child Health Access Through Telemedicine. And so when a student is caught vaping, Chief Rochelle, Mr. Wyndham will let me know, and we contact the parent, guardian, and if they agree, we can sign them up for TCHAT, which is telehealth counseling services, and they will complete 5 free sessions. Then we can put on their reasoning that they are receiving those services. And so, obviously the parent guardian, they have to agree to it, but if they do, then we have that in place for our students, not just for our vaping, but for any of our students' needs. We've had several who have completed the program, several that are in the program that are going to start after we get back from Christmas break. We're kind of one of the few school districts in our area that are actually using it. And it's been really great. We got an email, I guess about 2 weeks ago, that said we may be going on a wait list because a lot of the school districts, I've had several contact me and say, what do you think? And I'm like, it's great. It's another program that can provide services for our students. They don't have to leave. They don't have to be counted absent. They don't miss school. We pull them out during an elective class period for middle school, high school, and same thing for some of our enrichment periods over here in elementary. So they're not missing any of their core subjects, and it's great because then they don't have to miss school. They don't have to be taken anywhere. It's done right here on campus, but it is still confidential. We put them, we have a room over here, our conference room. They go to Miss Hutchins' room over here in the elementary. So it's still confidential, but it allows them to receive some services that otherwise would probably not be available to most of our students. So something I just kind of wanted to follow up from, that you were talking about, Ms. Misty and stuff, and that, and we're always open to more, most definitely, but do have those services in place anywhere from 1st through 12th grade, so.
I just want to add to that because I was talking to Kayla and looking up some stuff, and there are things out there, but they're so expensive, very, very expensive, like thousands of dollars, and so I think it's great that we have this.
What was it called again?
It's called TCHAT. TCHAT. And if you put in that acronym in a Google search, it will come up and it'll kind of tell you a little about it.
That's awesome. I mean, I think that was even better than what I was hearing about, because the other one was just texting. I mean, that's...
Yes, and it's a face-to-face, it's around an hour-long session, and like I said, they can get 5, and once they get to the end of the 5, if the therapist feels that there needs to be more, then they talk and get back with the parents and guardians, and they work to try to continue those services outside of TCHAT, kind of outside of the school, because it would be beyond the school then at that point, so there are some options for if further help is needed, so.
Awesome. Do we have pretty good participation with that?
Yes,
for the ones that it's offered to?
We do. Most people, I've only had one just say that they would just do something on their own. The only issues we have is, so once the parents agree, then I make the referral, Ms. Hutchins makes the referral over on the elementary side, and then basically TCHAT picks up then. And then it's just, the parents actually have to fill out paperwork, parents and guardians, so sometimes that is what kind of, because they're sending emails or they're calling from an unknown number, and so it's kind of hard. I'm the same way, I don't answer an unknown number and everything, so I always tell the teacher, I'm like, if you'll leave a message and let them know, then, and I tell the parents and guardians, we'll talk to them, like, just look for an unknown number. So that's the only thing that kind of has some lull in time or kind of takes the longest is just that communication then, once we're kind of out of the picture when it goes between the two parties, and sometimes there's just a little bit of, but no, everybody has seemed to be really very, very open to it. And even, so if the students are 18, they can actually sign the paperwork themselves, and I've recently had a student do that as well. I said, here's the paperwork, kind of explained it and said, you've got to bring it back, and they did. So I was very proud about that.
And they certainly offer other services besides just vacuuming and that. It's been a really good program for us.
And I will go ahead and say, there's a party next door, so that's, I told them to just party and have their Merry Christmas party, so if you hear that, that is just...
Well, let's adjourn and go over there.
Yeah. Just open the door and join.
Okay, does anybody have any more questions for Kayla? All right, next is safety and security. We've got Mr. Bradshaw, and Officer Rochelle may jump in. He's looking at me.
So just quick updates, and we can certainly discuss or have any conversations anybody else would like to. Since our last meeting, we have continued with our drills, and we have done intruder drills and lockdown drills with our staff, and with our kids. We looked at evacuation, and we also looked at reunification. I know we talked about that briefly in several meetings, that if we were to have to evacuate our district, whether that be gas leaks or some kind of emergency, we had to get off this campus, we would go down to our football field. We went through with our staff kind of a mock trial of what that would look like, and our VFD and local volunteer fire department and some officers showed up and kind of walked through that with us, and they drove through it, and they were certainly able to give us some feedback and some tweaks to that. What we're looking at would be next semester as the weather gets a little better, doing some smaller trial runs with that with the schools, with some kids and parents, and kind of have some kids down there and allow those parents to pick up down at the football field. One, that helps us see how it works. two, that helps our parents see that, and we can get some more feedback on that, and then we can communicate that out in case we did have to evacuate campus and reunify. We'd all kind of have an idea of what that would look like, and hopefully, stave off any major panic or concerns. Currently, we are up to date with all of our drills. We've had
we had the fire department come out with our last two fire drills, one with the high school and one with the middle elementary. They were impressed and didn't have too many things to say as far as the recommendations. They liked the way we did, the way we moved the students out quickly and out of the way for any type of emergency and respond.
Our emergency here in Boone County has done a really good job of giving us feedback. We've gone over our tornado plans. They've certainly looked through those, given us feedback on where we have kids stationed, and it's been a really good partnership for us. So we feel good about where we're at there. We've had our safety intruder alert. I know we talked about that briefly last time. We submitted all of our plans that both the SHAC and our safety and security team recommended as far as how we can try to address some of those. We have a board meeting Thursday. As part of that, we're looking to approve some improvements on the backside of our fencing that goes around the campus to secure it, repair it, do some things that'll be on there. Our exterior fence here is finally completed. We had some construction holdbacks. We'll be kind of looking at it this week, and then what we're planning on is when we come back from Christmas break, it'll be fully functional. And we'll send out information to our parents on how that will work. As far as being able to come in, and once everybody's here, those gates will all shut, and to come in, those parents, as a parent, you'll just have to ring in just like you do on the front doors when you come in during the day, and it'll take you to the elementary school. And Miss Buffy can hit a button and that gate will open and you can drive back in here, and then you'll have to do it again when you get into the doors. But there will be some things certainly that come up that we haven't thought through, and we just will ask our community and kids and parents to be patient with us, and we'll kind of learn all this together. But we feel good about where we're at. Once all of that is done, we'll meet TEA's new guidelines on everything inside the fence will be considered a secured area, which will help us in a lot of the safety audits that are coming up. And there are a few more things that we're going to look at here on the front to kind of shore up to make sure that it's to restrict access as much as possible. This past month we had our first drug dogs on campus in some time. We haven't done that in several years. We brought those back. Those drug dogs will smell for alcohol, illegal substances, drugs, gunpowder, so we can detect all of those. They hit mainly our secondary school through locker rooms, classrooms, and then cars in the parking lot. And those will be random searches that will continue throughout the year, just as a deterrent, more than anything, to know if there's stuff here, and then to deter others from bringing stuff here that doesn't need to be here on campus. We certainly know there's a lot of stuff going on. One thing for our teenagers right now, and I think there's a lot of this going on, the beliefs on marijuana have certainly changed in states that surround us, and so we're seeing an increase of some of that. Vaping, vape pens, and those drug dogs do certainly help us along with our random drug testing. So we're certainly trying to give our older kids, I hope, plenty of discouragement not to do those things. We do have vape sensors in restrooms, and if they are, we can get notifications. So we're trying to stay on top of that, but it is a big problem. I would think, yes. Do y'all believe vaping is a big problem? It is, and so we're trying to kind of attack that from multiple different ways, and hope that our kids, we give them some reasons not to do that, or that they can learn lessons now before they graduate when it becomes much more severe. What did y'all feel, I guess, with dogs on campus?
You scared.
Scared? What are you worried about?
No, not me. I'm saying others, there was a lot of talk after, but like you said, to elaborate on is the vaping. It's almost getting to where it's more than just vaping now, or, and it's sad to see, your peers and stuff go down that road, but I guess bringing in that dog or doing, the little stuff that we do helps a lot.
What other things can we do, from your opinion? Y'all see it a lot more, and how can we see it in vaping, and particularly, not just the tobacco vaping, but the marijuana and others that are going in there, we're concerned.
With all of the with all of it being random, no one hears about it, so they don't have time to plan, like, oh, I can't bring this to school today, or,
And that's what I try to get at. If you're gonna do it, or if your parents allow you to do it, leave it at home. You know what I mean? I mean, you're asking for it when you bring it to school. I mean, you really are. And it's sad to see, the things that they do to get to it. Oh my gosh, it is outrageous. And it's just, I think a lot of times it comes from, I see a lot of parents, it's okay, it's gonna be okay. No, it's not. You need to crack down on them, give them some structure. Let them know. That's bad.
So-
And
Parenting classes, guest speaker.
no, it's crazy.
There's certainly some different, beliefs out there amongst adults and parents on some of those. We certainly see that, and I know they've raised the age to 21 because of the access, but certainly a concern that we still have in our district. And I know we're trying, but certainly if there's things that y'all believe that we can do, we certainly want to do that.
But at the same time, we can only do so much. You know what I mean? So we do what we can at school, and then outside of school, that's why I say, if you're gonna do it at home, do it at home, whatever, leave that. But we really don't want anybody to do it.
So what philosophy do you think would work, like scaring them health-wise, what it's going to do to them, or like the legal ramifications if they get caught with certain things? What do you feel like is more of a deterrent?
I don't think anybody's scared of the
Yeah.
stuff that's gonna happen to them, like the health-wise.
Health-wise,
I don't think
they
any
don't
of them
care.
worry about that, but more of like the discipline,
What they're
how they
gonna
get in
lose.
trouble for it.
But I think, even starting off with the small disciplines or whatever, I mean, like I said, if you start small, but they're gonna think it's okay, still, I feel like you should just kind of crack down on it, and just like, that's not okay. And, with, like she said, like the physical change and all that, they don't,
it doesn't.
I mean,
Is the punishment the same for if a vape is, somebody's caught with a vape of nicotine versus marijuana?
No, I learned over the last couple of days, conferring with the district attorney's office, if you got a bath in with THC or edible gummy bears or something like that, it's a felony.
So the legal ramifications that can be much higher. Our school-based punishments are certainly differentiated by what's in there, whether it be nicotine or whether it be marijuana. It's much more severe if it's marijuana. Mandatory AEP placement, which means they're not on this campus, they're having to go to New Boston for us, is the way we've done that. Now, as far as number of times that can dictate how many days that they'll be going. But I think one thing that we have certainly learned, as Chief Rochelle has put out, a lot of times the kids don't realize the difference of that possession outside of school being a felony. For one vape pen versus, if they have plant-based marijuana is a whole different charge. And I don't know that everybody realizes how serious it really can be. And that felony will stay with you for life. And, it changes what your future will be and what opportunities you're going to have. So I think that's something we've been talking about here recently. Maybe trying to do a little more education criminally, what the difference in some of that is. Because what I think the kids see on social medias and the conversation they have, that's not at all what's being put out there. In a lot of these states that they're making it legal and recreational use legal, we're hearing a whole different tune out of there than what it is here in the state of Texas. And that a felony is a life-altering event, especially at the age of 18, 19, or 20. We don't really realize that.
17, criminally 17, you're an adult.
So we certainly still at this point have tried to handle most of that here as a school and educate and have those. We'd much rather try to educate them now while they're in school when we have some responsibility to them rather than just trying to find a way to file felony charges on kids over that. But if it continues or if it's bad enough, we certainly can do that. At this point, we've chosen to kind of handle it as a school-based discipline where we can educate and handle it that way.
Did you say we do random drug tests?
We do at the high school. So any kid that's involved, either whether they're here on campus or any kind of extracurricular, we can, the parents sign off on that, and we do, at the beginning of the year, everybody tests, and then we pull random sections multiple times a year. That can be anywhere between 6 to 8. It kind of varies. We don't really, we contract with a company that does that, and so they call us at random different times. Here's when we're coming, here's what we want to see. If a student does fail, then they'll be tested every time afterwards. And then we work with the parents on that. And then like I said, we felt like we wanted to bring the drug dogs, we call them drug dogs, but I guess they sniff for a lot more than that back on campus this year, just to give us some more randomized as far as, items being brought to school.
So the drug dogs, they sniff, they pick up on the nicotine and the THC both?
Yes.
Can they tell the difference, or is that already?
No, I mean, the alerts the same.
The dogs will give us an alert at that point, gives us,
Probable cause.
for school districts, what it's under is called reasonable suspicion. If we believe something could be there, we don't have near the level of probable cause that police do. If we just believe there's something there, then we have the right to search it on campus. And so that's what the drug dog gives us. When they hit on that, that gives us a reasonable suspicion something's in there that shouldn't be. And then we search it. They had test kits that tested those vape pens to differentiate between nicotine and other products. And, that's kind of how we've handled it.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So like when that happens and the drug dogs come, I would imagine a lot of kids would probably pretty quickly be trying to hide stuff.
So we hold them in classes. We held them in class, and try to not allow them to move from there. But certainly within class, it took a while to get through all of that. But backpacks and all that kind of stuff we do. We don't necessarily bring dogs and let them jump on top of kids, but they certainly pass in front of that dog, and that he can alert at that point. But yes, once it gets out, so what we'll do is once it's here, we try to hit very quickly, not allow kids out in the parking lot, not allow them to their locker rooms or lockers, and try to hold them in those areas while we do that.
And this dog, like I said, is a passive alert, and when it detects something, it'll sit. It doesn't growl, it doesn't scratch, it doesn't do anything like that, like some other dogs are trying to do. It is just sit, show it like, hey, there's something, like keep looking at it and sit. But
So girls, did the drug dog come by y'all?
So I was actually in the office when it happened, because for third period I was in there. And so it walked in, and I had to stand there, and it walked past me in my backpack. And then they did the whole drill thing, and then it went to all the other classrooms in the parking lot and everything else. So it actually does walk beside you.
So how did,
I
were y'all in?
was in the ag shop, so no.
So it
no.
didn't go to the, what about you, Jaden?
Yeah, I was in the classroom when I got caught, so it was,
There was kids in there
That got caught?
and then after he made a little comment about there's another one, and I was like, oh my gosh, and it was me, Alyssa, like, nobody who has anything, so I was like, oh my gosh, Wyndham's just playing with y'all.
Will there be false alerts?
That's what I was gonna ask.
So
It's
there
like,
will
I
be.
carry hand sandy with me everywhere.
Well,
Like,
I mean,
that's
I was-
So there can be a false alert, and then we do a search, and we may or may not find something at that point. And those dogs hit, and it can be something, for example, for us where we live, kids hunt, do all that, there could be a gun that goes in that car and then it's removed, but the smell of gunpowder is still in there and it may hit, so then we search through there and try to find anything on those. So, or, for kids, if they're out drinking on the weekend and there's been alcohol in that car, it may hit on that car and it's spilled, or a bottle cap, or whatever it is.
Somebody smokes.
So certainly it can have some false. That's on us to be able to go and search, and then if we do
I
find
had a
something.
boyfriend eat a poppy seed muffin and test positive, and it was traumatic for her. Like, I'll never.
On a drug test?
Yes.
And so we have a whole other procedure for drug testing, and there's certain cutoffs.
Yeah.
That in essence, if you test positive, they have no doubt that it's not secondhand, it's not, I passed by it, it's high enough that it is. And then we have some protocols that if they really feel that way, they can have it retested, but they're considered positive and suspended out of all extracurriculars until that happens. So, nothing's 100% foolproof, but we do try to give opportunities, but we certainly want to be able to know.
It's certainly a good deterrent,
we want to give every kid an opportunity where they have a reason to tell somebody, no, I can't do that. I'm playing this. If I'm going to get tested, it gives them a good out for some peer pressure if they so choose to use that. So we feel that's important, because if they don't have that, it's much harder sometimes under peer pressure at parties or whatever they may be at to say, but I can say, no, I'm going to get tested and I want to play, or whatever it may be. That's kind of why we want to give that opportunity.
I had another question.
Yes, sir.
About the, kind of shifting gears a little bit to the group of teachers that are armed on campus now. How is their confidence now that they've been carrying for a few months now?
I would say from what the conversations that we have after our training, we had some really good intense training for that, and I think that was something different for some of those folks that made them feel more confident. They've continued that training through this semester at times, so I feel like overall they feel much more confident in their ability to handle firearms and weapons, as well as how to use and interact, and then having carried for this long, their confidence is much higher.
Good. Is there like a requalification frequency on that too as well?
We'll do an annual accuracy, just similar to what officers would do. So we would do that on an annual basis, that we have them qualified, and then there's ongoing training that we'll require.
But overall, it's been going good.
So far.
Good, good. Glad to hear that.
Hopefully we don't ever have to use that, but I think the procedures that we put in place and the tools that we've given not only that group of guardians, but classroom teachers, I feel pretty confident in where we're, I think our staff feels good about where we are. So we still got some things that we're adding to it, and that'll kind of be an ongoing process as we secure up. We're looking at adding some resistant entry film on glasses, on the glass, particularly things that are outside the fence. So we're going to be adding that over this next semester. So we'll continue to try to add pieces to it, and then we've got groups that come out and look at our safety and our plan and do walkthrough through our campuses, and they give us feedback on things that they still think may be vulnerable or an option, and then we'll add to that. But we've certainly spent a lot of time, effort, and money this year trying to do everything that we can. I know this board, when we talked about it in the summer, just really felt like if anything bad happened here, we never wanted to be in a position we felt like there was something else we could have done and we didn't. So we really tried to do everything that we can, it's been recommended and we can do. TEA released their new safety guidelines that they're asking all schools to implement by next school year. And I would say 90% of those here had already been completed. So there's very few that we're really having to go back and add to it. And that was really just the district and the board making those decisions back in May that we were going to put these things in place. So when those came out, we felt really good that, we had done most of, almost all of them. And what little bit we hadn't done, there's probably some minor stuff that we'll get done.
Not like New Boston to spend like over $100,000 on a fence that wouldn't pass the
that was tough because TEA didn't really tell us what that was going to be. And, we made some decisions, I know, on our fencing that we felt like, especially, it certainly cost us a little bit more to do that, but we felt like it was important, and it turned out that it was the right call. So we feel good about where we're at. Anything else, safety-wise? Kiddos are good. Adults are good.
Okay, now we have just a time for open discussion. Is there anything that we've missed today that anybody wants to talk about or ask about? Y'all are a quiet bunch. Everybody's anticipating the storms and ready for Christmas.
I might share something that happened a long time ago here, and nobody realized it at the time, about not being protected. I was out on lunch duty, and Mr. Smith was a principal here then. And here comes somebody, and he said he's going to kill us. He just from right across there. It was a student, and we didn't have anything. Would you be with me? Well, what are we going to do? We didn't have anybody to help or anything else. So we'd love to have some protection. But it was back in those days. Came straight to the project right here.
That's been certainly an issue we're fixing. That's part of this new plan. I think the board, I believe, will approve on Thursday. Is we're going to tear that old fence that's down at the gates back here by the housing development down and put up a new one that won't allow access through there. Yeah. Not that we've had issues, but we did have some issues with them groups walking between two places back there at one point. That's kind of calmed down a little bit, but we're certainly going to make that a little bit harder to get through.
I have a very quick question.
Yes,
Do y'all
ma'am.
test the water with the water fountains? I know that Watson's had a lot of boil orders
Yes.
and things like that. Do y'all have the same water setup as
So everything comes through that water system. And we've had, and I don't have that information, I can go look as far as water testing. There's not a requirement that we do it specifically out of each fountain at the district level, but we have to report, the water levels that are tested coming from the city of Maud. But I can look more into
But when they
that.
say like doable order, they don't send the kids to the fountain?
No,
We cover it, So what we've done in the past, and we certainly have had this because, and in essence, anytime there's a water line that breaks, they force a 24-hour bull notice until it can be retested.
Okay.
So that's why we've had multiple, and I think at one time, I can't remember how many we had. But what we've typically done in that is we'll cover all fountains before kids get here. We usually send out, if we know ahead of time, send out messages for parents to send water. But what we've done is we'll go buy 200, 400 cases of water, whatever it is. And then what we'll do is we'll put them in the office. Now at the elementary, we usually give each kid one bottle, or the classroom teacher a bottle of water so they can use it. At the high school, it's a little more kind of come and go in most of those cases. And then the kitchen won't use that, or they'll boil anything that we're going to use for water that day. Is how we've done it. Now, if it happens after we get to school, then of course we're not sending anything to parents to bring it. We just cover it and then go provide it. Now, there was one time I think that it was going to be, I can't remember what it was. We were going to have water, but it was going to have to be boiled, and we ended up driving to Redwater and somewhere else that was off of there and filling up a whole bunch of athletic coolers and putting them around because we couldn't find water, there was no bottle, there was something. And we were like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And so we went. I think one year we had the first day of 2 days in football, and we got on Sunday, that was part of it. We ran over there to get water from them. So yeah, sometimes that becomes quite an adventure when we don't. If we know we're not going to have any water for some time, then we would consider sending kids out. But if it's just a bull notice, we typically try to provide something for them to drink. And I'll look more on that water
You don't
testing.
have to, that.
Well, I'll look, that's a good question.
Right there, you're good.
I don't know that answer as far as, there is some discussion about, water quality at the fountain level, but, we do all of ours through the city as it comes through there, but I'll look more into that.
Any other questions?
Oh, I thought that was a hand.
Scratch.
It's like an auction, don't do that at all.
Okay, well, the next thing we need to do is talk about scheduling our next meeting, and Kim, your schedule switches next semester, right?
Tuesday, Thursday.
So you're open on Wednesdays, Mondays and Wednesdays?
Yes, but I can always zoom in if I need to.
Okay, so let me grab a calendar. I don't have it out. You have one, thank you. Okay, so, on here. There we go, we're gonna be 2023 now. Okay, so our winter break is the 13th through the 17th. Do we want to meet the week before that, February 8th? Do we have anything going on February 8th that anybody is aware of?
Let me look right quick. The week before the break, I gotta be in Huntsville for chief school.
Oh, okay.
Wednesday after, and we can talk about the health of students coming back off winter break.
Yeah, there we go.
Maybe the health of the adults.
Okay, so maybe March 1st. Does anybody have anything March 1st?
The next day would be the open house day on Thursday.
That may be a lot. We could back up to the 26th.
If I remember right, first Thursday in March, isn't it right? It's usually that.
Yes, March 1st. Okay, so we will schedule it for March 1st, and I'll go ahead and warn y'all, the one at March 1st, we'll probably have the next one pretty quick after that so that we can get ready for the school board, our recommendations to the school board. So it'll probably be, that March one, it'll probably be like 4 or 5 weeks after that one, when we have our next one. All right, so we will do Wednesday, March 1st. That is a Wednesday, correct? Okay, at 12:30, and I will send out reminders. And do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
There we go. Second. All right. Y'all have a Merry Christmas.
Thank y'all so much, appreciate it.
Feel free to stay and get you something to eat.
TCAT.